Our Bible word is John 20, verse 28. And Thomas answered and said to him, My Lord and my God. So this is the confession of Thomas. And there's a lot of this type of confession and more is going on in chapter 20. Because there are various people who confess things. For example, they've confessed that I've seen the Lord, or we've seen the Lord. And also, this confession of Thomas. If we look at the whole of chapter 20, it's Jesus' resurrection, and prominent here initially is the role of Mary Magdalene. As in all the accounts of the resurrection, the woman play a prominent role, and special significance is placed on the role of Mary Magdalene. She comes to the tomb, she finds it empty, she goes and tells the disciples about the empty tomb. Peter runs to the tomb. Here it also says in John's Gospel, the beloved disciple ran with him and actually ran faster than him and arrived first at the tomb. Of course, John's Gospel is based on the eyewitness testimony of the beloved disciple. Also very important from the perspective of this Gospel is what we read in verse 8. When the beloved disciple looked into the tomb and he saw the grave clothes of Jesus, he was the first to believe. If we go and read there, then the other disciple who came to the tomb first went in also, and he saw and believed. So, according to this gospel, it was the beloved disciple was the first one who believed in the resurrection of Jesus. Of course, the narrative goes on where Jesus appears to Mary Magdalene. She first thinks he's the gardener, and then he addresses her as Mary. Then she recognizes him, and so she's the first to encounter the risen Jesus. So quite a significant portrayal here of Mary Magdalene in John's Gospel. And now the focus shifts to the male disciples. Jesus appears first to the male disciples where Thomas wasn't present. He shows his wounds to them. They have faith in him. And then we come now from verses 24 to 29. That's the second appearance of Jesus to his disciples. Now, this is where Thomas is present. If we go read in verse 24. Now Thomas, called the twin, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came. Then it says, the other disciples therefore said to him, We have seen the Lord. So he said to them, Unless I see in his hands the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe. So 8 days later, Jesus appears again to them. And he says again to them, Peace to you. Then he said to Thomas, Reach your finger here. So he tells Thomas, Come, you didn't believe. Come, touch, put your fingers where my wounds are, so that you have faith. So, of course, Thomas, his Lord, was brutalized, put to death. There's this amazing thing that they tell him now. They've seen Jesus being raised from the dead, so he wants to see it himself, otherwise he won't believe it. And now Thomas experiences it for himself, seeing the risen Jesus. And now we come to this amazing confession in our Bible word, my Lord and my God. Now, this is also part of the overall theology of John's Gospel. Jesus is divine. He's God. Not God the Father, but He's God. And there are so many places in the Gospel that brings emphasis to this deity of Jesus. Right at the beginning of the Gospel, we have, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Also, if we go to John 5 verse 18, because there Jesus said, Well, I'm doing the works that the Father has sent me to do. And the Jews there became angry because Jesus performed this healing. Therefore the Jews sought all the more to kill him, because he not only broke the Sabbath, but also said that God was his Father, making himself equal with God. Of course, from the perspective of our evangelist, the gospel author, that's right. Jesus is equal with God the Father, because he's the divine Son that was sent by the Father. But the Jews don't like that he calls God his own Father. They want to kill him. Also, if we go to John 10, verses 30, Jesus says there, I and my Father are one. And then in verse 33, we also read, the Jews answered him, saying, for good work we do not stone you, but for blasphemy, and because you, being a man, make yourself God. Again, but that's the truth. That's the whole irony of it. For the evangelist, Jesus is God. He's God the Son. It's the whole theological picture that he brings to his gospel. Also in John 14, verse 9, Jesus says, that's where Philip asked Jesus, show us the Father. What does the Father look like? Who's the Father? Then Jesus says there, he who has seen me has seen the Father. So if you want to know what God the Father is and what he's like, you see it in Jesus. Right? Who has seen me has seen the Father. And then lastly, there are many other places that speaks of Jesus' deity also. I mean, also in chapter 8 where Jesus says, before Abram was, I am. And all those other I am sayings of Jesus where he communicates his deity to the people. But all of this culminates in Thomas's confession at the end, where Thomas did not believe. He wanted to see Jesus for himself, the resurrected Jesus, and when he sees the resurrected Jesus and experiences him, it culminates in this confession. And again, it's our Bible word. And Thomas answered and said to him, my Lord and my God. There Thomas confesses Jesus as his God. And that's a very important picture or theological element of John's gospel. That Jesus, he is this divine Son. He's God the Son who reveals the Father.